The issues surrounding plagiarism can often be confusing and misunderstood, possibly resulting in fear, frustration, or confusion for students. This seminar, to your credit, using the words and ideas of others correctly, is intended to address your questions and your concerns regarding plagiarism and academic integrity. There are many reasons that plagiarism might occur. This segment looks at the how and why of plagiarism and what you can do to prevent it. So, how does plagiarism happen? It doesn't happen in vacuum. It doesn't happen just by happenstance. Okay? I believe there are certain causes for plagiarism. And some of those causes we could say students responsible, the instructors responsible, the assignments responsible, and that's possible. But I want to look at some aspects that I think affect students. So I've given a list of them here, and I want you to think about them, and we'll talk through them quickly, but what I want you to think about is which one affects you? What's going to make you be tempted to plagiarize? Because that's really the issue here. We're all tempted in different ways. I believe that any student could be tempted to plagiarize, given certain circumstances. So let's think about some of those. The first one is time management, time constraints. Now, a lot of us, when do we do our essays? The night before. Yes, I can see by the smiles on your face. I was an undergraduate student once. I wrote most of my essays the night before. So, when we do our essays at the last moment, what happens? We rush, we don't take care, all kinds of things go wrong, okay? Also, we might be tempted. You know what? My paper's due at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's midnight. This one time, I'll do it. I'll never ever do it again, but today I'm going to do it, right? So, when don't manage your time. So sometimes it's not an issue of character, it's an issue of managing time. So if you have trouble managing time, go get some help. Go to the Student Success Center and get someone to work with you on some of your time management skills. Now sometimes professors surprise you with an essay, and surprise, you have an essay due in 3 days. That's a problem as well. I think that also can create issues around time. Students often tell me laziness. People are just lazy. I have no answer for that one. If you're lazy, get unlazy. I don't know. But you can't blame laziness. Poor note-taking. Now, I'm going to talk what I mean by poor note-taking. I don't mean note-taking like you're doing in class right now. What I do mean is you're doing your research, okay, and you take notes on other people's words and ideas, and you don't do it carefully. And then when you go and look at those notes later, you get confused or you write something down incorrectly. Suddenly, you've plagiarized, even though, in fact, you had no intentions of doing so. So be careful with your note-taking. Develop a system so you're very clear on what you're going to do. And I'll give you some ideas in a few minutes. Misunderstanding plagiarism. If you don't know what plagiarism is, you're going to have problems with it. So you're listening to me talk right now, so my job is to help you understand it. If you don't understand plagiarism fully, then go and get some help to make sure you understand it. Weak referencing skills. Or weak citing skills. Sometimes people don't know. Are they using APA, MLA, Chicago, Turabian, Vancouver, McGill? There's so many of them, they cause confusion for students. So you need to know what are the rules for APA? What are the rules for MLA? How do they differ? What does my professor expect? So that you take away any chance of being misunderstood or confused. Weak paraphrasing and summarizing skills. Now, many of us have weak paraphrasing skills because paraphrasing is actually a very, very difficult skill to master. Even for instructors, it can be difficult. So if we have these weaknesses, we need to do something about it. The assignment. If the assignment isn't clear and you don't really know what your professor's asking of you, it's going to be very difficult for you to give it to him or her. So if you're unsure what the topic is, if you're unsure, what are you supposed to do? Am I supposed to use sources? Am I not supposed to use sources? What actually is my professor expecting of me? So get clarity from the instructor. Talk to your classmates. Make sure you understand your assignment. Competitiveness. University is competitive. That's the nature of it. So some students go, you know what? I have to cheat to compete. But the result will be you might get through now, but ultimately it's going to hurt you and it's going to affect the environment you're in right now. So if university is competitive, it is, do something about it. Strengthen those skills. And the last one I've written here is weak writing skills. Okay? If you have weak writing skills, if you're an international student, particularly sometimes you feel like, you know what, I can't really compete with native speakers when it comes to writing, so you know what, I'm going to copy a little bit, just so I sound better, okay? Much more important to work on those writing skills and develop your own voice and your own style, okay? Now, what can we do about this? So we've talked about some of the issues why plagiarism might happen, and there could be many other reasons. The thing I want you to think about, though, is there's possible causes, and there's possible personal causes. So you need to know what cause might affect me, and then do something about it. So for example, if you're always finding you're writing your essays at the last moment, go work on time management. Get that sorted out so that that doesn't become one of the causes for you plagiarizing. If it's weak writing, go work on your writing skills. Go get some help. Take a course. Talk to your instructor. I want to give you 3 other ideas to protect yourself from plagiarizing in general. Cite everything. So when you're working on your notes, put a reference down for everything. Data, information, anything like that. Write it down. Anything that's not common knowledge, you need to let us know where you got it from. Now you can go back later and take some of those references out, take some of those citations out if you really want to, okay? But originally when you're doing your draft, cite everything. You'll never go wrong. Secondly, use quotation marks. So when you're transferring, cut, copying, paste from someone else's source, put quotation marks around it. Because the problem in computers is when you move it around, there's no quotation marks, right? So make sure you copy it into your text, put quotation marks around it, and cite it. Put it there. Let me give you one other idea that I have found useful over the years. Use colors. It's a very, very simple skill. What you do is, here's what I do. If I'm copying something from another source, I cut, copy, and paste it, put it in my paper, put quotation marks around it, and I put it in a color. Let's say green. Now, why do I do that? Because what if as I'm working on my paper some more, I take just the middle part of that quotation out and I move it to another part of my paper? When I do that, what doesn't go with the quotation are the quotation marks. So I start moving stuff around and it gets mixed up. But if mine is green, for example, every time I move it, it's green. Every time I say green, what do I know? These are not my words. That's one thing. The other thing I do with colors is if I paraphrase someone's words and ideas, I will put it in a different color, let's say red. So every time I put their paraphrased words, I will put it in red. They're my words, but I've paraphrased them, so I have to know these aren't my ideas. So when I look at my paper, I got red and green, and I know the green is quoted material, the red is paraphrased. I make sure that I've got the appropriate citation. So this is a very effective technique. Of course, when you hand the paper in, get rid of the red and green. Don't keep it there, but keep a draft of it. Okay? And the final suggestion I have for you is this. Use attributive tags, or sometimes people call them ethereal tags or whatnot. So it would be something like this. According to Dr. Smith, Dr. Jones states. This is called a tag. If I use tags in my writing, no one's going to mistake it that these are my ideas. Because I've said, according to Dr. Jones, Dr. Smith states. Okay? So if you follow those 3 very simple rules, cite everything, use quotation marks when using someone else's words, and use attributive tags. You do those 3 simple things, and they're going to protect you to a very large degree from issues related to plagiarizing unintentionally.